Oh, ho, ho, ho. Ooh. Wow. How is life going?
A pretty good.
What does the government do particularly well? Not much. The government has become just an insane... What does the government do particularly well? Not much. The government has become just an insane monster. It's just an ever-growing monster that just keeps eating more money, eating more resources. None of these agencies are doing what they set out to do.
What do you think the role of the government should be?
Not much. I would say the founders basically got it completely right, that everything should be dealt with at the state and local level, and then the federal government should have a couple things that they're supposed to do.
What are your predictions for the finances of the average American?
I'm extremely bullish on the American economy right now, across the board. I think the world is changing in massive ways. We're in such an absolute massive technological shift right now.
Is that what the founders said? I mean, I would say I don't have the historical background to say because I'm not super well read into it, but I know I'm more read into it than Dave Dipshit is. Having the federal government do the fewest things possible and leaving everything up to the states, I mean, arguably was the Articles of Confederation, which was a massive fucking failure. So I feel like the whole point of the federal government, the Constitution was to create a stronger federal government, but hey, what do I know?
Right now, I think we're in for an incredible time in America. It doesn't matter how much money you have. But as a general rule, I would tell anybody,
Dave, Rubin, thank you so much for coming on the Iced Coffee Hour. We really appreciate it.
good to be with you
man.
guys. We are drinking our psychotropic drink, and we'll see what happens in about a half hour from now.
Shout out Chris Williamson.
Yeah.
Just
Very
wait
kind
for
of
it to
you.
kick in.
I walked in, I said,
gotta
what do you
kick.
got with caffeine? Thinking there might be some iced coffee involved, and now we got mushrooms and God knows what, so we'll see what happens.
So we first wanted to discuss the cultural conservative shift that I feel like has really been hitting hard the past probably.
What do you think the role of federal government should be? I mean, you have a government that secures your freedoms, right? So you want to ensure some level of fluidity. For instance, having courts is good, so you have ways to enforce contracts without having to kill people. Having a criminal system is good, so that people aren't committing crimes against each other, which would lead obviously to the destruction of society. And then from an economic perspective, I think having a government provide some level of support for activities that the market wouldn't solve for naturally is probably good. And then there's like the fundamental functions of a state, being able to do treaties with other countries, engage in trade with other countries, have a military, stuff like that.
I mean, started maybe even like 7 or 8 years ago, and then slowly it's been ramping up, and then recently it's just exploded. I mean, you have Joe Rogan, who's just a lifelong liberal going to the right. You have Elon, Mark Zuckerberg, even lending credence to Donald Trump after the attempt. And you actually started as a liberal commentating for the Young Turks, and then you started to see things a little bit differently and started going to the right. Where do you think that all started from?
So I started with the Young Turks in about 2014, and although I don't have a lot of great things to say about Cenk from the Young Turks, I do always give the guy credit for he was early in on digital media, which now has completely dwarfed mainstream media. And even just this morning when I was on the plane, I was flipping through Twitter, and it's like MSNBC's being sold off and CNN's about to fire half their people, and there's just complete upheaval now. So I do give credit to the guy for kind of getting in early on that. I was always kind of a liberal growing up. I'm from New York. I was just sort of like a New York old school liberal, which is very, very different, as I'm sure you guys know, from what the modern sort of framing of what a liberal is.
Does liberal just mean supported gay marriage in 2007? Yeah, for a lot of these guys, basically, yeah.
I was liberal in that, like, I didn't really care who you married. I didn't care what you smoked. In some sense, I'm still at least I consider myself begrudgingly pro-choice. But that was sort of when things work, you can kind of be liberal. And that was what most people were in America at the time. I'm a child of the 80s. I'm 48. Like, that was really how things were. And then conservatives were thought of as a little more conservatives, kind of, were more about business and war or something like that. They were meaner, or, you picture like The Simpsons, all the rich guys in the room with Mr. Burns and the lightning in the background, and Dracula's there and everybody else. And I started at the Young Turks, and they were kind of, to me, they were like liberals, but they were hopped up on caffeine. They were just screaming all the time. Everybody was a racist and a bigot and a buffoon that they were fighting. And I kind of liked it. And I think that that's actually what caught on culturally for the progressives, is that they were just like juiced up about everything all the time. And they were just so right and everybody else was so wrong. And then after about a year there, I started thinking something is not right here. Like there, sometimes when you just feel something for a while and then you don't have like the exact touch point yet, but I was just kind of feeling like this can't make sense. Like, how are we so right about everything? And it's all so obvious. And all of these people are just evil and bigots and racists. Like, it can't be.
What is this? TYT was a political failure in every possible way. Like, every single one of them is now just something that openly damages the left as a whole and not just the establishment. Dave Rubin, Cenk and Anna, Hassan, Jimmy Dore. My God, you couldn't make a better group of useful idiots for the right in a fucking lab. Treasonous, backstabbing fucks. Damn, treasonous? Dave Rubin, yes. Wait, what did you link me? Have you seen this comment and the post in general? Was this a link to a certain comment? Or what? A single comment thread. Is it this? Oh, this is all one comment thread. I think pre-Trump, not really. I personally remember them doing a lot of good content during the late Bush and all 8 years of Obama. That certainly made an impact. You can nitpick here and there on some stuff, but they were definitely not useful idiots of the bad guys. My hot take is Cenk. The rest I agree are obviously unsalvageable at this point, is that he's personally butthurt over lack of recognition from Democratic elites, which does not excuse his behavior, but if he was shown just a little bit of love from anyone, I think he'd be unrecognizable. He was kind of the left-wing guy on the internet, and he's never really been recognized by the Democrats and shown even close to the same level, or same love as Republicans do to their ass kissers. I think 80% plus of Cenk's unhinged and hypocritical behavior is this perceived grievance. And this sounds patronizing as shit, but even the richest man on earth has an ego that can be heavily influenced. Elon literally went scorched earth because Democrats said mean things about him and his cars. He's so toxic that even Sanders and AOC pretty much cut off contact. That should say something in and of itself. What actually happened? Hold on. Fuck. There's way more to that story than I think most people here would be aware of, but if it's interesting / surprising enough, I might make it its own post, but hear me out. Bernie Sanders actually endorsed Cenk for office when he ran for the House. He was actually building some real momentum to fill Katie Hill's vacant seat in California District 25. Then Bernie got browbeat by the world's most annoying Twitter lefties into revoking the endorsement a few days later, mostly over resurfaced old columns Cenk wrote when he was a college Republican, and some other inflammatory but standard fare TYT comments. And guess which story the media covered ad nauseum? The endorsement or the retraction? The swirl around this absolutely killed his campaign just as it was taking off and made him impossible for any other Dem to endorse. And then as collateral damage in that incident, he was also forced out of the Justice Democrats, the shockingly effective organization he co-founded that got almost all of the squad elected and has basically been able to do almost nothing since the completely unnecessary scandal. And of course, because forcing Cenk out was completely retarded, Kyle Kulinski also stepped down as the other co-founder, and they lost the built-in audience that made the Justice Dems work so well. Justice Dems was the first real attempt to do what MAGA does so well, and what everyone is saying we need to do right now, leveraging the power of progressive independent media to get non-corporate grassroots candidates elected. But of course, in the years since all this unfolded, you'll see that they only got 2 new ads in the 2022 midterms and then promptly lost 3 seats in 2024. Oh, and they had to lay off most of their staff last year. We did it, guys. We got the guy who was fighting for actual, concrete, progressive change because he made some offensive jokes and wrote some bad opinion pieces 25 years ago in college. 3 party emotes. If Cenk has a legitimate grievance, that is actually it. Or that is actually exactly it. I remember watching all of this unfold with incredible frustration and knew at the time that it was such a short-sighted thing to do, but in 2018 to 2020, we let absolute psychos control left-of-center discourse, and that type of left-on-left kneecapping each other over nothing is the exact thing DGG should be very against, but due to Cenk being this community's punching bag du jour, I'm not sure how well this info will be received. Wait, what? I don't think we're doing left-on-left kneecapping with Cenk. I think that we're mad because Cenk is doing left-on-left kneecapping right now. No?
be. And then there were a couple moments along the way that kind of broke me. The most famous one that I think became way bigger than me was when Sam Harris was on Real Time with Bill Maher with Ben Affleck, and Affleck was on, and people think he maybe was getting a little juiced up for Batman at the time. And they started discussing radical Islam, and Sam was trying to explain that you have to be able to criticize ideas without being bigoted towards people. And Affleck just jumped all over Sam Harris, who's a very soft-spoken atheist. He was on the show to talk about mindful meditation, basically, a new book he had about that. And Bill Maher, who was a lifelong liberal, live and let live kind of thing. And basically he called them gross and racist. That was the line. And I was watching it. I remember watching it live that night. And I was watching.
So the other thing we want to talk about, of course, is that you and I have...
You buy that 911 yet? Oh, I'm getting ready. Don't worry. I can see both points that they're making. I think that I feel like overall Sam is actually making more statements that I would fight on, but I think in this particular argument, Sam is probably more right than Ben Affleck. It feels, it's hard to, without getting more from both these guys, but like Affleck feels like he has a very much like Western, like Hollywood, like, oh, all people are nice and cool and every bad thing that anybody says about a group of people is just a racist. And it's like, well, that's probably not true, Ben. Like, there are probably issues here that we can talk about. However, I will say, speaking about Muslims is funny because that's a big group of people. It's hard because like we're so Western in that we kind of like are in the Western world. We think of the Western world, but like imagine if you went to, I don't know if they do this, but imagine if you were like in India or China and somebody was like, oh yeah, Christians are crazy. Like, I know that you guys in America think these crazy, horrible things. And then they start telling you things that like people in Poland do. And you're like, wait. Okay, hold on. I'm American. Okay. I live in San Bernardino. Okay. I don't know why you're talking about what is going on in Warsaw. No, I'm talking about Christians in general. It's like, what do you mean Christians in general? No, hold on. I'm from California. I don't know why you're citing me things going on in fucking Romania or Ukraine or whatever. Like, well, yeah, but I just mean like Christians. I'm talking about like Christians. Like, bro, what do you mean Christians, right? But for Muslims, it's very easy for us to paint with a broad brush, even though I think today in Afghanistan, what was it that like women can't even do dishes at the sink anymore? If there's a window there, because you can't see women at all, it's like illegal now in Afghanistan. That was a headline I read. I don't know if it's actually true or not. Like the treatment of women there is gonna be a lot different than the treatment of women in Saudi Arabia. Or even like in fucking Iraq and Syria. I don't know if in Iraq and Syria, do they have to wear full fucking crazy ass ultra burqa everywhere they go? I don't think that's true even like in Iraq, right? I don't think it's true in Syria either. So I mean, like it's different groups of people are different. I'm just saying, not to say there's not some shitty ideas in Islam. There absolutely is. There are shitty ideas of Christianity too. But I feel like talking about such a huge group of people is hard to generalize. That's all I'll say. Yeah, it's hard to generalize. Also, keeping in mind the context, I don't know when this was. Was this actually in 2014? Was this 10 years ago or earlier? There was a huge wave of Islamophobia in the United States after 9/11, obviously. And I know that a lot of our sensitivities around criticizing Islam were reactions to that, to the reactions to 9/11. So America probably became a little bit racist, more than usual after 9/11 towards Muslims. I think I said before, that was actually one of my moments where I started to look questioningly at Republicans and started to become more libertarian, is when people started to get mad about mosques being built in New York City. And I was like, wait a second, I thought we liked freedom of religion. Yeah, I mean, I understand both sides here, but I feel like Sam has a big hate boner for Islam. I think he's a really big hate boner for Islam sometimes, like a little bit more than it needs to be. I think having like a half chub to like hate Islam is based. And I would say for all religions, but Sam Harris is a pretty stout atheist, I'm pretty sure. So I think Harris would agree there too. But an American take, Limfeo, if you lived in Europe, you would not feel this defensive over 20% are kind of extreme. I don't know if I would necessarily even disagree with you. But I think that's for a whole host of different reasons, having to do with like cultural assimilation and everything else. But I know you think you're cooking with that, but I've literally said that on stream before. I don't feel unsafe at all shitting on Muslims in America. I don't think I would ever get killed here by a Muslim. But if I lived in like Paris or London, I don't know if I'd make the same comments. I'm not actually sure about that. Some of that shit is a little bit unhinged. So yeah.
Reformers in the Muslim world to change it. And lying about the
But I think even that, like geographically, it's a bit, there are a lot of issues relating to, I think, cultural assimilation at play there. But
they're not jihadists, but they
Those views are anathema to ours.
but they also keep women.
Sam definitely has an especially rigid hate boner for Islam. He's asked for a reformation of the faith, like what happened in Christianity. Yeah, sure. But I think the issue too, though, for Sam Harris, and I'm sympathetic towards this, is Sam Harris is probably draw Muhammad right now. Sam Harris is probably he's so irritated that every time he has a conversation, every single person like won't concede anything. And so he's like he's like automatically like the disposition is to just fight on every point, which there you go. Muhammad. Boom. Kill me, get me. Yes. Never mind.
True, statistically or otherwise. The key thing to recognize that I don't think is part of the argument, but I think should be, is that there are voices that are oftentimes raised.
Wait, does this guy look like he's doing blackface? Does this look like a white guy with, am I crazy? What? Am I just having a...
It's true.
There's no question.
Okay, so having said that, and even if that is true, statistically or otherwise, the key thing to recognize that I don't think is part of the argument, but I think should be, is that there are voices that are oftentimes raised in opposition to these jihadists and to these extreme acts. But
he's a brown Kevin O'Leary? Oh, wait a second. No shot. No, it's just because of the balding pattern. That's the only reason you're saying that. No, stop. Islam in America because there are barely any Muslims here at LMAO. Number of Muslims in America. No, I think it's just because I think in general we just do a way better job at integrating people in the U.S. Than you do in Europe for a variety of reasons. One, there's a huge filter, so the types of people that can even get to the United States is going to be selected for a lot more. And two, if I had to guess, despite how much Republicans might scream and screech to the contrary, the fact that we don't have like an ethnic or ancestral background that makes you American probably helps with integration a lot as well, right? Like we don't have those conversations about like, you know, you'll never actually be a real Frenchman or a real Englishman or a real whatever because you're an American man, you know? There are about 4.5 million Muslims in the United States of America. 25 million in Europe versus 4.5 million Muslims in the USA. Huge difference. Wait, are there really only 25 million Muslims in Europe? There's no way that's true. I would have imagined that number was way higher. How many Muslims in Europe? Wait, my intuition was so off there. Jesus Christ. Okay. I assumed this was way higher. My bad. Okay. Wait, what country is this including? This isn't including Turkey, is it? How many Muslims in European Union? 26 million. Jeez. What? I thought this was like... What would I have said if you would have asked me this? The population of the EU is it like 700 or 800 million? Population of European Union. Oh no, it's 450 million, sorry. I feel like my assumption would have been at least 50 million. I guess maybe not that far off. About half as much. Huh. But my guess is it's probably concentrated in certain areas as well, though. Yeah, like I don't know how many Muslims live in like Poland or I keep saying Poland. Any other Eastern European countries to say? I don't know what happens in Belarus. The only thing I know about Belarus is Russian puppet. That's the only thing I know. What goes on in this country? I also don't know anything about Moldova other than this like Transnistria thing that Russia fucked up. This bullshit or whatever, I think. It's so crazy to me how much. It's so crazy how peaceful the world has been since '91, and it doesn't feel that way. We all feel like the world is falling apart and totally fucked and insane. And for the most part, like, you had like the collapse of Yugoslavia, but besides that, especially like Western Europe has been living in like relative peace. It's so crazy that these kingdoms were battling each other like for fucking centuries and for millennia. That there was like France and the England and all the crowns and the monarchs and the 100 Years' War and all this. There's so much conflict and battle and war and killing and fighting throughout Europe for fucking ever. Holy fucking savagery! It was insane. God, I hate Mearsheimer. Gotcha. Okay. Affleck was pretty dense there, I think.
Watching it, and I thought, holy shit, this right now, what was happening right in front of me, this is what I've been trying to formulate in my head that I knew was wrong. That the liberals, the progressives, somehow were completely unable to separate how you should be able to talk about ideas, criticize ideas, without being bigoted towards people. And once I saw it like so perfectly, and maybe it had something to do with Affleck being kind of like an A-list star and kind of over the top, so it was so emotive, I just started talking about that on my show. And suddenly, all these people started coming to me like, Dave, I'm seeing something wrong here too. And then really what happened was I started talking to some conservatives. I started talking to Larry Elder. There was a very famous moment we had. I started talking to Glenn Beck, Ben Shapiro, all of these guys. And what I found was even though I disagreed with them about some stuff, there was an awful lot of just, live and let live. America's kind of good. Like, let's see if we can talk this stuff out. And really all I was getting on the other side was scorched earth. So anyway, to kind of get that to exactly where your question is, this new thing that's happening right now, I don't really describe it as conservative as much as it's just pro-America, right? Because Tulsi is definitely not a conservative. Tulsi is definitely pro-choice. And, the war thing has now flipped because the Democrats have become the party of war. But RFK is definitely not a traditional conservative. But what's bringing all these guys together, it's basically a love for America and it's a love for free speech and hopefully a restoration of those things. So I would say
I don't like how the MAGA tendrils have like expanded out to infect every corner of the cultural zeitgeist. I don't even know what you would say. That's like infected the tech bros and it's infected the finance bros and it's like infected like everything it touches. So, it's so funny that I've kind of made this complaint in the past. It's crystallized more in my head. It's funny that the accusation was always that like liberals controlled the culture. And there's a degree of truth to that, but but the cultural controllers don't actually talk about politics, right? That like, if you think of like, think about all like the Hollywood stars and think about like the singer, like Taylor Swift is a great example, the Taylor Swift endorsement, right? Taylor Swift endorses Kamala Harris. People are like, oh, this is a huge deal. It's really good. But Taylor Swift doesn't do politics. She doesn't talk about politics. None of these people, like Hollywood actors or people none of these people really talk about politics. Maybe now and then they'll drop a tweet or they'll give like an interview and they'll be like woke or whatever, but they don't like really talk politics. Meanwhile, conservatives everywhere are on overdrive mode talking about politics full time, constantly, everywhere, in every arena, and it infects and it bleeds through every single part of every single thing they do, right? Should I open a savings account? Yeah, you want to open a savings account? Let me tell you about the Federal Reserve and the evil of fractional reserve banking and why we should be back on the gold standard. It's like, okay, Jesus. Should I buy a house? Do you want to be in the renter economy forever? Do you want to have a family? Aren't you white? Aren't you worried about being outbred by, like, can I go to college? Depends. Are you going to go for a wokey STEM degree? Or not a STEM degree, I'm sorry. You're going to go for a wokey liberal arts degree? Or you're going to get a manly, a real STEM degree? Okay, Jesus. Like, infects, like, everything.
A wide tent, new conservative movement, if you want to use the conservative word. I mean, I'm married to a guy. Like, that's not the most conservative thing out there. So, like, there's something really interesting brewing, and I'm very, I've been getting a lot of credit for the last couple of weeks because it's so connected to my journey, but I'm very proud that I had really interesting brewing, and I'm very, I've been getting a lot of credit for the last couple of weeks.
But from who?
Because it's so connected to my journey, but I'm very proud that I had anything, to whatever extent I had anything to do with it.
I can think of a person as famous as Taylor Swift who is very actively Republican, except for maybe Elon Musk. It's, I would say easily Joe Rogan, but there's I'm trying to think. You have a thing where you have like audience number, and then you have audience. I guess you can call it like conversion, basically, for how well can I convert an audience member into a sale, right? So if you go way over here, right? Let's think about radio, okay? For radio, I have a huge audience reach, okay? I might broadcast in a place like Chicago, and I might have 100,000 listeners or more, right? I have a huge reach. How many people in Chicago listen AM radio? How many radio listeners in Chicago? I'm sure these numbers are down a lot from what they used to be, but can I find other numbers on this anywhere? Cumulative listeners, maybe? A million, whatever. But whatever. So like I might have a huge reach on radio, okay? And then I might go over into TV, and I also have like a pretty huge reach, okay? And then from there, maybe we'll hop online, and I might have things like TikTok or Instagram, right? Or I still have like a really huge reach. And then we might get into things like YouTube, where I've got like a pretty huge reach, or not a huge reach. And then maybe we'll say like YouTube videos, and then we'll say we've got things like streaming, okay, where the reach becomes much smaller. So when you look at things like this, you're trying to imagine like, okay, well, who gets paid the most money between all of these things? And the overall viewers don't matter anywhere near as much as the actual engagement. Like, how likely are you to convert a listener into a sale? You have your sales funnel where you're trying to get people to go buy shit, or to some other type of engagement where you can monetize them, right? For radio, this number is like, it's like here. I think for TV, it might be a bit higher. Maybe like here. For like TikTok and Instagram, maybe you'll do like a little bit better. YouTube videos are a bit better. And then like for streaming, it's like the best. Okay, I should draw this a bit more. Because the engagement per viewer is so much higher than it is for any of these other platforms, right? If you imagine a radio host that broadcasts to 100,000 or 500,000 people, right? That radio host might make 100,000 a year or something. I don't know. Somebody Google what's the median salary for like a radio host. Maybe less than that. I guess it depends on like how small you're going, right? For people working TV, they're going to be reaching millions of people, but their salaries aren't like millions of dollars unless you're like a primetime fucking host, right? But when you come all the way down here to the streamer side, right? So like right now I've got 5,500 viewers. For 5,000 viewers, if you were a radio host, you would be a failure. 5,000 viewers, what are you, a college town radio host? For TV, you're getting kicked off of anything. TikTok and Instagram, 5,000 views on a video is nothing. Even for YouTube videos, getting 5,000 views a video is just not much. But for streaming, 5,000 viewers is easily enough to hit you like mid six-figure income, if not more, depending on how you monetize, right? Because the engagement is so much higher. All of this to say that when somebody says, is there somebody as big as Taylor Swift on the right? and then my response would be something like Joe Rogan. I think that Taylor Swift is like this. She's got a much larger reach. But when she talks about politics, it doesn't really mean much because her audience is not very political. They might be kind of be like young and wokey, but they're not really like politically activated. They don't like, oh, Taylor Swift said this thing. Okay, cool. And then like, okay, well, what happened next week with Justin Bieber or I don't know who you talk about these days, right? But on the Joe Rogan side of things, if Joe Rogan wants to talk about how dinosaurs are fake or whatever, we're going to do a 3-hour show on that, and it's going to become part of like the community identity to believe these things, and it's going to be referenced on future shows, and there might be future guests that talk about it, and there might be like little memes that develop about it. Like the engagement is so much higher. So even though Taylor Swift might have a bigger reach in terms of number of ears hit, like eyes on content, Joe Rogan has a much deeper reach into the mind because people are engaging with that content for that content a much more deeply, I guess. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
I'm very proud because I think America's back, and we had a little something to do with it.
I genuinely
Intuitively, I see what you're saying, but didn't Devin Nash talk a lot about how Twitch underperforms in the lens of advertisers as that intuition didn't actually translate into conversion? I don't know what he talked about specifically. It might be that they overcharge a little bit, but what I'm saying is undeniably true. And you can go and ask literally anybody. Would you rather have 100,000 listeners on radio, 50,000 listeners on TV, 20,000 views per video on YouTube, or 10,000 live stream viewers? You don't even have to think 10,000 live stream viewers easily. That outranks maybe all those other things combined. That's the easiest thing in the world, right?
To extent I had anything to do with it, I'm very proud because I think America's back, and we had a little something to do with it.
I genuinely think one of the biggest catalysts to Trump winning this election was Elon buying Twitter, now X.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's wanting to run the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency,
That's a thing to skip over, but okay.
with Vivek Ramaswamy, which I personally am like absolutely thrilled about.
Oh my gosh, me too.
No, it could not be better. It literally could not be better.
And you speak with Elon, or you have quite a bit actually. Do you think that this is something that's actually going to come to fruition?
Oh, yes.
Actually going to make a difference?
Yes.
How do they have any authority? Because my understanding is that they can make recommendations, but they can't implement anything themselves.
Well, we don't know exactly yet because it's a new department. So there's a certain irony here, right? Their whole goal is to eliminate departments, right? We have something like 479 departments. It's more than 2 a year, basically, in the history of the United States.
This is also just a thing. It's a thing just to keep track. Heuristics for if people are full of shit. Anytime people are just throwing numbers out with no context, it doesn't mean anything. And you should always push back on people that throw out a number with no context. Oh, we have 420 whatever departments. How many departments should we have? Which ones do you want to get rid of? Because without that information, that's just an empty, hollow, meaningless salesman statement. Like, what is that? What's the appropriate number?
My understanding is that they can make recommendations, but they can't implement anything themselves.
Well, we don't know exactly yet because it's a new department. So there's a certain irony here, right? Their whole goal is to eliminate departments, right? We have something like 479 departments. It's more than 2 a year, basically, in the history of the United States. And they're adding a department to get rid of departments. So we don't know.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Positivity. Okay. Sorry. Positivity. Okay. Wait, why is this not working? Wait, hold on. Ooh. I'm just writing shit down. Departments that are created in the office of the federal government, in the executive department, or in the executive branch of government. Okay, offices. And so like departments and stuff like that can only be authorized or created by the Congress, okay? I should start remembering which article, because it sounds nice to me, like Article 2, Article 3, Article. Which article deals with Congress? Is it 2? Article, Constitution, Congress, which one? Article 1 is the Congress, okay. Offices can only be created by the Congress. Which one? Can we remember? I should start looking at this every single time we mention something so I can say in the Constitution. Nixon made the EPA destiny. Nice bait, Pisco. To make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution, the government of the United States, or in any department or officer thereof. Is it this? Would it be this clause here in Section 8? Oh, no. Hold on. I think it is Article 2. Under the executive. Okay. Sorry, hold on real quick. Pisco said that Nixon created the EPA. I'm not sure if Pisco is half trolling or not. So Nixon suggested, because the only thing the president can do is suggest things, kind of like when you say Biden passed legislation. No, Biden can't really pass legislation. He can only, pen it, sign it after it's been passed by the Congress. I think Nixon's administration created the framework for the EPA, but then they have to give that to Congress for Congress to pass. The president cannot create offices. The president doesn't have the power to do so. Okay, it's Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2, I think. Okay. He shall have power, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, to make treaties, provided 2/3 of the senators present concur, and he shall nominate, and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States. So I believe an officer is the head of an executive department, whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, and which shall be established by law. Law always refers to things made by Congress, right? Rules can come from the federal government. Rules can come from the executive branch. Rules are just made to enforce laws, which come from the Congress, right? But the Congress may by law vest the appointment of such inferior officers as they think proper in the president alone, in the courts of law, or in the heads of departments. So these departments have to be authorized and created by the Congress. I'm sorry, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because this is basically like structure of government for the United States, but...
Yes.
How do they have any authority? Because my understanding is that they can make recommendations, but they can't implement anything themselves.
Well, we don't know exactly yet because it's a new department. So there's a certain irony here, right? Their whole goal is to eliminate departments, right? We have something like 479 departments. It's more than 2 a year, basically, in the history of the United States. And they're adding a department to get rid of departments. So
we're not adding a department to that list of 479 departments or whatever, because the executive branch, the president, cannot create a department. So the DOGE thing is not an actual new department that's part of the executive branch. It's probably just going to be like the president might be allowed to create inferior officers or inside like the department of the White House. Like he can have like an advisor basically, but DOGE is not going to be like a full on like the Department of Education or the Environmental Protection Agency or the Health and Human Services Department or the Department of State. It's not going to be a real department like that. That's not how that works. The president doesn't have the authority to do that unless he gives it to Congress and Congress passes it and then authorizes it and then creates a new department that way. Okay, sorry. That's all that to say that, right?
Departments, it's more than 2 a year, basically, in the history of the United States. And they're adding a department to get rid of departments. So we don't know like the technical mechanism yet. I saw all these people like Elizabeth Warren is like, oh, how are they going to be so efficient? They need 2 people to do the job, implying it should be a 1-person job. But it's like, first off, Elon has 20 other jobs, at least. The guy is literally sending us to Mars. He's building tunnels under LA.
He's the top player of Diablo, too.
Yeah, he's president on Diablo. Is he literally the top player?
He's not the top player.
Yeah.
He did actually recently speedrun something and set a world record in Diablo, but I think that he's officially top 20 leaderboard in the world, which is insanely competitive.
Well,
because you have people that dedicate their life. He's officially top 20. He's not the top player. He did
you remember when I said I got really irritated that people are like, oh, when Trump got shot, he stood up immediately. No, he didn't. And no, there was even that video that one guy got mad and he tweeted at me and he posted the video of Trump standing up right after. And it was an edited video. It's because these are the little lies that add up to create these legends. Okay. This is also why I don't know if I start to wonder about like any history, like any historical stories about like brave leaders or like things on the battlefield. Like if people are willing to lie this much, like about shit that's on video that we know to be true, then what the fuck else do people lie about historically, But Elon Musk is not a top anything player in any video game ever. That's just not true. He doesn't have the time for it. It's like, that's obvious. If you spend any amount of time doing any competitive gaming, it's obvious that that's not true. Like, he wouldn't have the time to do it. There are other people that know life the fuck out of all of this shit. Like, this is just obviously not true. It's just like saying like, it was so crazy that Elon Musk actually has like a 16-inch dick. Elon Musk has like an 18-inch cock. Like, it's crazy. It's like, bro, the longest dick in the world? Really? Seriously?
Player in the world.
Is he? Wait.
Destiny, do you know the heads of the departments? I only have heard of 4 of these people. I don't offhand know. I mean, your big departments, all of these guys, like we've heard of like Anthony Blinken or Janet Yellen. Most of these I'm not gonna be able to say off the top of my head though. The heads of your departments, these guys here for your big departments, the people here that are the heads of these departments, these are nominated by the president and then confirmed by the Senate. And these big guys are part of your cabinet. This is the cabinet that people refer to. It's when the president comes into office and he brings with him, these are all of the new department heads that I'd like to nominate. They're part of my cabinet and they all fit in the cabinet. Like a Horcrux.
Is he literally the top
So
player?
he's
for
not
whatever
the
that
top
means?
player.
Yeah.
He did actually recently speedrun something and set the world record in Diablo, but I think that he's officially top 20 leaderboard in the
Like, how could you even think that? You just have to know nothing. You must have some humility when stepping outside of your area of expertise, no? Like, imagine I was like, Biden might not be the quickest mentally, but you do know that he is like the record for bench press. Like the last time he competed when he was like 81 years old. Like he literally is the strongest bench presser in the world. Or maybe he got like third or fourth in like the Mount Olympia. I think that's bodybuilding. I don't think that's powerlifting. But like it's just such an honest, but because I guess it's gaming and they don't know anything about video games, they just make the most absurd statements in the world. Like, come on.
Yeah.
He did actually recently speedrun something and set the world record in Diablo, but I think that he's officially top 20 leaderboard in the world, which is insanely competitive.
Well,
because you have people that dedicate their lives to Diablo,
Right.
probably thousands, tens of thousands of people, and he has all these lives and jobs, and still he's top 20.
Well, I can tell you a
Okay,
story,
okay.
not about Diablo specifically, but maybe a little bit about his psyche that might explain that. Because the first time that I met him was right after he bought Twitter. So it was about 2 weeks after he bought Twitter, and I got a message from somebody saying, Elon wants to meet you. Can you come? And I was in Florida, where I'm in Miami, and obviously they're in San Francisco. I called every friend I know with a plane, and I was like, somebody, you got to get me there immediately. Like, he wants to meet me tonight, and nobody could get me on a plane. I get on finally, there was one flight that I could get on. It was literally the last seat, 37B right in the middle to go meet Elon. I show up at Twitter at about midnight. And there's, I don't know, like 50 or 75 people up there. And he immediately walks out. He says hi. He's like, and his eyes were kind of bloodshot. It was a long day. He's just dressed in like a ratty t-shirt and he's got sneakers on and kind of, just average jeans. Like, could not, if you had just seen him down the street, you'd just be like, that's any guy. Like, and he's like, Dave, they told me there's some weird stuff going on with your Twitter account. He's like, I'm really tired.
Yeah. By the way, welcome to all of the tech world for the last like 20 years. Yes, that is the meme. They don't wear suits. They wear, where's the, what's the fucking meme? Like, you go to work and you work in fucking San Francisco and it's like, oh, this guy, this guy must be a junior developer. This guy probably got hired like 2 weeks ago and he's in here to do his hard work for the day. And then you see like this guy and you're like, oh shit. Oh fuck. This is probably the guy that like maintains like half our fucking infrastructure. It's this dude. Holy shit. Watch out. The guy who comes into the office without any fucking shoes on. I'm only saying this now because I feel like at some point it's like, yeah, Elon Musk was the guy that made it okay to wear ordinary clothes to work. And it's like, oh God.
But if you want me to look at this now, we can spend a couple hours. Otherwise, if you could just come back in the morning. And I was like, just that right there tells you everything you need to know about the guy. Like, I am one of a zillion people. Just come back. There's some weird stuff going on with your Twitter account. He's like, I'm really tired. But if you want me to look at this now, we can spend a couple hours. Otherwise, if you could just come back in the morning. And I was like, just that right there tells you everything you need to know about the guy. Like, I am one of a zillion people like that. You're going to now at 12:30 a.m. We're going to sit down and go under the hood and look in my Twitter and see what happens. So I was like, it's okay. We could do this in the morning. I did spend a couple hours that night with the programmers going through the stuff. But then the next day I met with him, and I've subsequently met with him a couple other times. And
a couple hours with the programmers going through problems with your Twitter account? What is even happening? This is not a real story. This is a fake story. This is not a real story, just to be clear.
the guy's just doing a million things. Like, if you're supposed to be on a journey in life, if you're supposed to find something that you want to do and do it, I don't know that anyone's doing a better example of that. So to answer the question, I think they absolutely are going to go in, and as Vivek said,
Destiny, I'm not American, but these departmental budgets seem wild. $300 billion on veterans, $79 billion on education, $16 billion on commerce. We spend a lot of money on shit. The U.S. government spends a lot of money on a lot of shit.
that they are going to delete departments. I think almost nothing is off the table. They are going to, the government has become just an insane, I would say, monster. It's just an ever-growing monster that just keeps eating more money, eating more resources. This is the deep state that, Trump's been talking about for years. And they're going to go in and they're going to do it quick, sort of like what's...
And what do we have to show for it? Like in what part? Like, have some pride in your fucking country, right? What, like, still have the strongest military in the world. We're still considered leaders. Our economy is still the largest. I've been hearing since I'm 18 years old that China is on the verge of overcoming the US economy, right? We bounced back from COVID quicker than any other motherfucking country. All the people that you worship came to the USA to build. Elon Musk didn't say, well, I would like to do Tesla and electric cars, but you know, there are so many departments in the US federal government that I don't know if I can do it, right? Like,
what's happening in Argentina right now. And then suddenly people are going to be like, holy, they did save $2 trillion in the budget, and people are going to get some of their tax money back, and we're not going to have all these wasteful departments, and things are...
You know why they don't say wasteful departments, $2 trillion back in the budget? Like, these numbers don't even mean anything to you. You know why they don't name departments? This is why they don't speak in specifics anymore.
It's 3 agencies of government when I get there that are gone. Commerce, education, and the, what's the third one there? Let's see.
EPA?
EPA, there you go. No, okay.
Let's talk deposition.
Seriously? Is EPA the one you were talking about? Or?
No, sir.
You can't name the third one?
The third agency of government,
Yeah.
I would do away with the education, the...
Look at the difference in... Can you imagine in today's political environment if that guy would have said, seriously? Do you know how much people would be on Twitter like, why is the media so biased? Why'd you jump down his throat? So biased. I can't believe you fucking screamed at him on stage like that.
Is EPA the one you were talking about? Or?
No, sir.
You can't name the third one?
The third agency of government,
Yeah.
I would do away with the education, the commerce, and let's see. I can't. The third one I can't. Sorry. Oops.
Wait, I thought he said, wait, where was the debate where he says,
Sean Spicer criticized Democrats for not being cooperative and moving along a sufficient number of nominees to cabinet posts, and I expect that is going to be a drumbeat we continue to hear as more and more of these cabinet nominees in their confirmation hearings find themselves subject to criticism from Democrats, not so much from Republicans, but in some cases they will. And that is going to create some static and make it difficult to fill out this government as quickly as Donald Trump would like. We expect that people like Jim Mattis, the nominee to be defense secretary, Mike Pompeo, the CIA director choice, are going to be confirmed rapidly, probably tomorrow, as President-elect Trump becomes President Trump. But Steve Mnuchin is going to face some tough questions at his confirmation hearing today about foreclosures, about ties to Wall Street.
where's the video? I thought one of the, I know that he was in a debate or in an interview, and he said that he wanted to eliminate the Department of Energy, which is the department in the United States that that oversees our like nuclear reactors and nuclear weapons. Okay, he wanted to get rid of the Department of Energy. By the way, Trump made this guy the head of the Department of Energy too, which is fucking hilarious. Where did he say this in a debate? Hold on. Regrets calling for dissolution. When did he say it? That was the one he couldn't think of? Oh, did he just have that on a website? Maybe he just listed it somewhere or whatever. Or no, he didn't tweet it out. Did we have Twitter back then? How long ago was this? Oh, this was for 2016. Right?
Sean Spicer.
Wait, fuck. Hold on, my brain is...
His ties to of the...
The first bit. I don't remember when he said he wanted to eliminate the Department of Energy. I don't remember that. Rick Perry wasn't in the 2016 primaries, was he? No, he was. He was in the 2016 primaries. Okay. 2016 is when there were like 12 Republicans, right? Was Herman Cain? 999. Was he in the 2016 primaries or was that earlier? Oh, God. For Herman Cain, was that the one where people were, was that 2012? Oh, maybe it was 2012. Herman Cain, was that the one where people were tweeting from his account after he died? They were still using it? Hold on. I'm so sorry. Fuck. Random thoughts. Okay, it was 2012. You guys don't remember 999? We're bouncing around a lot here. Sorry, hold on.
This economy is on life support. We took 5 revenue sources that are currently being collected through taxes that cost us $430 billion a year collectively for filing and compliance. So we looked at corporate income taxes, personal income taxes, capital gains tax.
Oh my God. Even listening to these guys speak, this guy was the retard of the retard. Even these guys all sound, he's talking about, he's giving numbers. He's talking about specific taxes. Even these guys sound infinitely smarter than where the Republican Party is today. What the fuck? Sorry, okay. But anyway.
This economy is on life support. We took 5 revenue sources that are currently being collected through taxes that cost us $430 billion a year collectively for filing and compliance. So we looked at corporate income taxes, personal income taxes, capital gains taxes, payroll taxes, and the death tax. Then we said we want a structure where we can expand the base. But the only way to expand the base was to bring in retail sales. And what is the lowest rate that would be simple, fair, efficient, transparent, and revenue neutral?
And look at this. When this guy is talking, just to be clear, this guy's a fucking retard. Or this is his reputation as being a retard. People made fun of him for the 999 thing. They made fun of him for other shit. But this guy's speaking like he actually understands like tax policy, right? Well, what are you going to do? You either have to increase taxes on some people, or you have to expand the tax base, right? Yeah, that's true. Or you can expand the size of the economy, so the absolute value of taxes you collect increases as well. But yeah, this is true. This is right.
This is how we came up with the 9% rate on corporate tax, a flat rate, personal income tax, a flat rate, and a 9% retail sales tax. So we derived this by using existing revenue numbers. So it is not a gimmick, and we've also had it scored, and it will boost this economy and create 6 million new jobs.
And I know you're going to be coming out with that scoring report soon, right? Can you tell us when?
Yes. We've already had the scoring done. We're just trying to clean it up such that when we present it to the public, it won't raise a lot of questions. So we'll have that done within the next week, and we'll make it available.
All right. So let me ask you this, because we just talked about the poll that came out this afternoon, where you're leading in Florida with a significant margin over Governor Romney, and by just a point, so within the margin of error, but still in an early voting state, South Carolina. So I just took a few of the early states, New Hampshire, Iowa, South Carolina, Florida. If you look at the current sales tax in those states, New Hampshire's at 0, the others primarily at 6%. So voters in those states watching tonight see that, and let's look at New Hampshire. They go, I'm paying 0 now. Even though Mr. Kane gives me a cut of my payroll tax, I'm getting a 9% sales tax, and I'm getting a 9% income tax rate.
Herman Cain was asked, do you know where Uzbekistan is? And his answer was no. How is that going to create more jobs? I mean, true.
Even though Mr. Kane gives me a cut of my payroll tax, I'm getting a 9% sales tax, and I'm getting a 9% income tax rate. A lot of people say that will result in an increase in people at the bottom of the income level in this country.
Here's how I respond. This is something new to the public to say that you're going to pay a sales tax on retail sales of 9%. But at least you know what it is. The problem with our current system is that there are embedded taxes and sneak taxes in the current tax code.
All right, so the fundamental question of regressivity, that a sales tax that applies to clothes and to food is a...
Do you know where Uzbekistan is? Do I know where Uzbekistan is? Is it right below Tajikistan? Uzbekistan. I think it is. It's like northeast of Afghanistan, right? Next to Georgia? Oh, never mind them. Nope. I mix up Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan is more to the east, and then Kazakhstan is the huge one. Is Uzbekistan next to Georgia and Armenia? Is that true? I don't remember. Wait, it's not next to... Oh, that is a troll. Oh. Well, fuck you. Hold on. Yeah, I thought Uzbekistan was... Yeah, up here. Fuck you. It is over here. Fuck you. Well, north of Afghanistan, I think it's actually... Okay. These are like mystery countries. I don't know anything about these countries. I've never heard them referenced before in the news. I don't know any history about them. I don't know if there used to be like the massive country of like Stanistan, and then they all broke off into the respective stans. And like brother Uz went this way, brother Turk, brother Tajiki, and brother Kyrgyz and brother Kazakh, they went their separate ways and became their own stan provinces. Or I have literally, I have no fucking idea. I have no clue. I think you could like delete one of these from a world map. And I think that, I don't know, maybe in Europe, maybe you guys learned about it. Like most people just wouldn't even know. Stan means land of. So Afghanistan is the land of the Afghanis. Gotcha.
I believe yours would, hits the people who spend the majority of their income on food and clothes, that being the poorest people in America.
It's not regressive. take an actual example. The reason some people say it's regressive is because that's the way they think relative to the current paradigm and the current tax code. If I can very quickly, let's take a median income family of $50,000 a year. If you want to use $25,000 a year, just cut these numbers in half. A family making $50,000 a year, which is around median income, under the current system, they're going to pay $10,200 in taxes. Under the 999 plan, they're going to pay $4,500 for that middle nine, and that leaves them $5,200, $5,700.
This guy is like a fucking genius compared to current discourse. And remember, this guy was a retard back in the day. People consider this like a joke, the 999 plan. Was he the CEO of Pizza Hut? Like everybody made fun of this guy. I think that there's that Herman Cain Award for because he was also, I think, an anti-vaxxer too, and then he died of COVID. Oh, CEO of Godfathers. My bad. He was chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City, Omaha branch. What does that even mean? Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City, Omaha branch. Why would the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City have a branch in Omaha? He was the chairman of, okay. Oh, this guy was a big econ brain memer. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. This is actually so depressing. Why I'm listening to all these people that used to be considered retards, but they're actually this. So the attack, the charge that your plan is regressive because the sales tax is regressive is technically true, right? Sales taxes are regressive because poor people spend a greater proportion of their money on buying things, so therefore they would pay a greater percentage of their money on taxes. And then his counter, because I think for 999, I don't remember what all nines were. It was 9% sales tax, 9% income tax, 9% property tax. I don't know what the other 9 was. But he can counter that with exact figures and say, sure, they might pay a greater percentage of their income in sales tax, but on the other 2 9s, what do you say, the middle? Oh, corporate tax. I don't know if the math works out to support him, but it's a substantive response to the actual issue at hand.
Use $25,000 a year, just cut these numbers in half. A family making $50,000 a year, which is around median income, under the current system, they're going to pay $10,200 in taxes. Under the 999 plan, they're going to pay $4,500 for that middle nine, and that leaves them $5,200, $5,700 to apply to sales taxes that they would pay on that third nine on food and shelter. And then if they buy goods, no taxes on used goods. So the actual purchase behavior, we can't predict, but it is not regressive. In fact, it empowers those that make the least amount of money because you don't pay the sales tax on used goods.
Interesting. Okay, sorry. Is he just lying by ignoring all the transfers? If you're making $25K back then, you probably get a ton of tax rebates. Maybe. There is something to be said, though. I agree. I believe there's something to be said for a relatively simple tax code. There's something to be said for being able to see a tax or to see a cost or to see a thing and know immediately how much it costs, as opposed to there's a lot of obfuscation today. People don't know how much it costs for a college degree. That's an argument we get into a lot. Or how much it costs for healthcare, or how much it costs for how much you pay in taxes. Nobody really knows the answer because there's effective rates. People don't even know how marginal tax brackets work, right? They think that if you're in the 25% tax bracket, it means you're paying 25% on all of your income, not just the income in that bracket. So all of our systems are incredibly complicated. Oh, fuck, that clip cut off, but this is what we were looking for. Then Rick Perry stumbled. He couldn't recall the third. When coaxed by other candidates and the moderator, did he mean the Environmental Protection Agency maybe? He drew a blank. Sorry, he said as he grinned sheepishly at the camera. Oops. A few minutes later, Perry remembered. It was the Department of Energy he wanted to get rid of. That was it. And then Trump made this guy the head of the Department of Energy. Based. Okay. Back to this. Sorry. Wait, quick pit stop. Which one of these is closer to being correct? Women get more comfortable around you when they know you're not trying to pursue them. Now that OP has a GF, his coworker feels comfortable being friendly. The fact that so many of you interpret this as jealous flirting is the reason why women feel like they can't be friends with men. They got filtered. The first girl saw a single guy, unknown quality. When they show up as taken, they've been vetted by another woman, whom she also has the luxury of seeing and can judge their taste in other things. So now they're considered to have positive value. I mean, both of these can be true, but I mean, it would depend on the behavior.